Hello, welcome to Crafting with the Crafty Chick. Thank you so much for coming to craft with me today. Our next project is a Thinking of You foil spring card, and we're using a couple of upcoming retiring colors on this one as well. The light purple, which is Purple Posy, and then, oh no, that's Blushing Bright. I was thinking this was Seaside Spray, but so just Purple Posy on this one, and then here's the inside with one of those flowers. So a couple of the products that we're using today, Stampin' Up. The sentiment, the Thinking of You, comes from our Happy Thoughts stamp set, which is out of our mini catalog. And this is the sentiment that we're using here. And also we're using a couple of die sets as well. And one of them is this painted, Pierce Blooms. I've been having so much fun with these dies. Just so many different possibilities on what you can do with these. And so we're using quite a few of these flowers on this stamp set, or this bundle, and the leaves as well. And so in the flower centers, there's a couple of different sizes there. And so we're going to be using those. And the other die set we're going to be using is our Stampin' Up! Rectangle Stitch Framelit, and that is what I used to do this rectangle, because one of the things I love about the Pierce Blooms is that they have this stitching that they put on all of the dies in that set, and so I wanted to help pull it all together and use the stitching in the rectangle piece as well. And this set has a lot of great sizes too. Just about every size rectangle you could want. And so this is the one that we're using for our sentiment piece here. They have the biggest one, which is a nice size. So these really are a great set to have as well. Okay. And I will be demoing the Stampin' Up! Cut and Emboss machine, because this card has the white layer is embossed with our Subtles embossing folder, and the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine does not tell you how to cut it with that style of embossing folder. So I'm going to show you guys how we're going to do that. Okay, so first things first. And so it is going to take a few moments to assemble, get all of the flower centers onto the flowers, and then the leaves we will tuck in underneath the flowers once we get them on our card. But you will need your mono glue, and you will need dimensionals. And just to save a little bit of time, I've already done some of my flower centers, but I will go through with you guys step by step and show you what you need to do. So I'm just bringing in all of my pieces here. Move this out of the way. Okay. So I gotta bring this back in. So that you have two different size flowers, and one is bigger than the other, and you have two, that are 5 petals. And so one goes down here toward the bottom, and the other one goes inside your card on the liner. And so we're not going to worry about that right now. But what we can do is we can go ahead and start putting our flower centers inside our flowers. So the top purple Posy flower, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals, and so that one has a white center. So you're going to go ahead and glue your white center. Keep in mind there's a small size and a big size. So you want to use the big size for this flower. And so like I said, just to save time, I've already gone ahead and done that. And then the next one is we're going to bring in the purple one, because it's the next biggest flower, and the center of that one. So before you guys start gluing, I glued the biggest white piece down directly on top of the flower, and then I came in with the blue piece and popped that on a dimensional on top of that. So biggest white center gets glued down to the Blushing Bright flower. And then I'm going to come in with a mini dimensional. Get my dimensionals here. And I'm just going to put that right in the center and then peel that backing away. And this blue part is going to go right over the top of that. Okay, and so those are our two biggest flowers on our card. So the next one I'm going to do is this purple one here. And you want a small blue center for that one. And then the next one is going to be this one, which goes inside your card, and that one has a white center. So we're going to go ahead and glue that one down. So both of your 5-petal purple posy flowers, one has a blue center and one has a white center, and the one that has a white center goes inside. And so I'm actually going to take that and set that off to the side. And then the next flower we're going to do is this white one here with the blue center. So I've already glued mine down. You go ahead and glue your blue piece to your white flower. And then the last one is going to be this blue flower up here in the corner. It has a purple center. We're going to go ahead and glue that one down. Okay, and that is all of our flower pieces. Okay, and like I said, the leaves we're going to actually tuck in once we build our card and put the flowers on. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take all of our flowers away because we're going to start building the groundwork for our card. And then I'm going to show you how to do this embossing with that embossing style folder and on the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So there's a certain way you want to do it, and the plates do not tell you, so we'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, so we're going to start with our pieces here. And I love the colors for these cards, and they're just that soft pastel. They all scream spring, right? I'm so ready for spring. Okay. So in your kit you have the base, which is, this is Balmy Blue, and this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and you want to make sure that your fold is on the left hand side when you go to open your card. And then our next layer is soft sea foam, and this is 3 5/8 by 4 9/16, and so that's going to be our next layer. And then on top of that is going to be a Whisper White embossed piece, and this is 3 1/2 by 4 7/16, and that's going to go right over the top of that. So we're going to go ahead and start adhering these layers together. So I'm going to do the Whisper White Subtles embossed piece first. I'm trying to find, there's a design. The design is different depending which way you want. One that's more raised and one that's more kind of recessed in. So I wanted to make sure I had the right one. No right or wrong, just a matter of personal preference. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this to my soft sea foam piece. And you do want to leave that soft sea foam border on all 4 sides. Okay, get that adhered down. And then we're going to attach this layer to our Balmy Blue base. There's the mono glue. I had so much fun making this card. In the beginning I just had like 3 flowers, and I just could not get it to come together the way I want, and so it was like, okay, let's try this flower, and let's try this flower, and boom, that just made the card. And this is a Crafty Chick original design. This is part of the fun and the challenges for me, is to come up with my own design, but it's so fun. I absolutely love it. Okay, and then typically I would say let's finish the front of our card, but we're going to go ahead and do the inside liner of our card just to get that out of the way. And this is Blushing Bride. And so this one is 4 by 5 1/4. And that's going to go down first. And then we have another Whisper White piece, which is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So we're going to glue our Whisper White piece to our Blushing Bride piece. Bring this in front of me so I can line it up. And you do want to leave a border of that Blushing Bride on all 4 sides. Okay, and then we're going to attach that to the inside of our card. Okay, and then we're going to pull in, it's our purple flower that has the white center. We're going to go ahead and bring that one in, because that's going to go inside our card. And one of the leaves. So then you want to, you have this soft sea foam leaf set, which is also from the Pierce Bloom dies, and you have 3 sets of those. You will need 1. So scissors, we need scissors. And you're going to want to take one of these leaves and cut it off, preferably the bottom one, just because of the way that the angle, the chip is kind of more pointed this way. It's just a better look overall. But don't get rid of this one. Don't throw this away, because we're going to use this one for the front of our card. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and just kind of get your placement of where you want your flower and your leaf. And I think that looks good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue my leaf down. That's a lot of glue, Jen. Okay. See if we can get this on here without making too big of a mess. That works. Just remember, you don't want to go out over the edge of your card. You want to be able to put this in an envelope. And now we're going to go ahead and glue our flower down to the inside of our card. Okay. And that is the inside of our card with our purple Posy flower. Okay, and then I'm just going to set that off to the side and let that dry for just a moment. And then we're going to come back with all of our flowers for the front. There's lots of pieces and leaves, but leaves we're not going to worry about just yet, because we're going to do flower assembly first. Okay, that should be good. Alright. So now we have the front of our card, and we're going to start with our purple Posy flower, which is going to go right up here. And so we're not going to do any adhering just yet, because we've got to bring in our leaves to kind of get an idea for placement. So also in your kit there are 3 different styles of leaves. Remember, we have this style, and then you have these 2, which are the same style, but one of them is bigger than the other, as you can see. I mean, I don't know if you can tell this way, but let's bring the smaller one up. And so you can see this one is longer, and so you have to be aware of which leaf you're grabbing, because they are different sizes on our card. And so I'm going to take one of the big leaves and just tuck it in on the side here, just kind of gauging my placement of exactly where I want that to go. And then I'm taking one of the smaller leaves over here on this side and just tucking that in. But I don't have much of it showing, so it looks a lot smaller than it really is. And that's the look I was going for. Okay? And we are going to pop these up on dimensionals. So now I'm just going to take my pink Blushing Bride flower and come down here, just kind of eyeballing. This needs to come down a little bit. And this is kind of why I call it like pre-staging, just so you can get the visual and line it up pretty much where you want it. Okay, and don't worry about all this open space over here because we're going to fill it in with our white flower with the blue center, and that's going to come right over here on the side. And we have another big leaf coming in this corner of this Blushing Bride flower down here. And then our purple, a small purple flower, is going to hide that open white space there. So now I'm going to pull these away, so just so you have that visual. And I'm going to go ahead and start popping dimensionals on the backs of these flowers. The purple posy, the big purple posy up top. And what I did was I put one big dimensional, I don't know if you guys can see that, one big dimensional in the center of that flower. And then the leaves, the ends of the leaves, you're going to put another dimensional, but I prefer to use the mini dimensionals on those. Okay. I just realized you guys can't see what I'm doing, so let me move up a little bit so you can see. There we go. And you want to make sure that the piercing, if you run your finger over one side, it's almost like braille, like you can feel it. But if you turn it over, you can still feel it, but not as well as you can on the raised side. So I prefer to have the raised side facing down. So smooth side up, and then this side that kind of feels like braille, that goes faces down. So now I'm going to put a dimensional right here on the end of my leaf and do the same thing for my other one and make sure I'm on the right side. Okay. Alright, and so now I'm going to come back in with my purple posy, peel that backing off of that dimensional. And I'm not going to stick it down too much because I want to, if I have to move it, then that allows me the flexibility to move it. Okay, so biggest leaf goes on this side, and I'm just tucking this in here. And you want to make sure that you get it to where it doesn't extend out over the edge of your card. So we want to put it in an envelope. Okay, I'll peel the backing off of that one. And I'm going to come in and just tuck that one in under here. There we go. Oh. There we go. Okay, and so now I'm happy with the placement of that. I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. Okay, now the end of your leaves are going to be lifted up. If you want them down, you can put dimensionals underneath and just flatten them down. They'll still have that illusion of being popped, but so it's up to you how you want to do that. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my, actually I need to move this down just a little bit. There we go, move this leaf down, and this is why I don't like to stick things down until that is exactly where I want them. There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to take the Blushing Bride flower, and we're going to pop that one on dimensionals as well. So just like I did for our purple posy, a big dimensional on the center of that. Okay, I think I want it to go this way. There we go, because I'm covering up basically this white space here, but it's petal to petal. And so we're going to stick that there. Okay, and then I'm going to take our white flower and put a dimensional on the back of that one as well. Peel the backing off of that one. And you're covering up a lot of this white space, and so I'm just bringing that right about there, because I do have another leaf coming in over here, and it's a big one. So I'm putting 2 dimensionals on this one. So one at the bottom and one toward the top. And so this one is just going to get tucked in right here. Okay. And then we have these little ones. And this is Purple Posy and Blushing Bride. And these are going to get mini dimensionals on the backs of both of those. Okay. And we're going to peel the backing off of their Purple Posy one. And that's going to go right over here, which is covering up this white space between the flower. So you have a little contrast there. And there's not competition fighting for that white. Okay, I think I'm going to tuck another dimensional underneath that petal there. So I'm going to peel the backing off of it first. So then I can just lift it up and stick it right underneath there. There we go. That's better. Okay. We're moving on. So now we want our Purple Posy with our blue center. Dimensionals. Where would we be without them? I use them so much they've become one of my staples. Crafting supplies. I just use them so much, both the regular size and the mini. They really come in handy for so many things. Okay, I'm leaving space here because I've got a leaf that's going to be coming in. And so I think I'm just going to place my flower there. And so the leaf we're going to put down here, remember the one that we cut off, it was a set. And we cut it off to use the other one for the inside. We're going to use that one that we cut to tuck in underneath our Purple Posy flower here. And same thing, mini dimensionals. And I'm going to put it in the center of this one. And the reason I'm putting it in the center is because I've got this big dimensional under here, so I'm not going to be able to tuck it in very far. But the tip of this leaf is going to be laying directly over the top of this, I keep wanting to say this is Rococo Rose Blushing Bride flower petal. And so I don't want the dimensional to pop over the top of that flower. And so now I'm going to take this and just kind of tuck it in underneath here. And as you can see, the tip of that leaf just touches over the top of that Blushing Bride. And there we have that one. Okay. And then we have one more leaf. This leaf is going to go up here. And I'm putting a dimensional on the top part. We're not going to put it on the back because it's going to be tucked underneath that flower. So I might need to get another sheet of mini dimensionals here. So I'm just putting it over the top part. And I'm just going to tuck that in behind our Blushing Bride flower over here. Okay. And then we're going to come in with our 2 leaf sets, and we're going to cut another one of these away. So I'm going to take this one So if you were to put these two leaves side by side, let me just show here. Okay, the one on the left does have more of a downward tip, where this one doesn't. It's kind of just right in the middle. You can use whatever one you want, but I'm using the one that just has that tip kind of in the middle there. And I'm going to put a mini dimensional behind that one up at the top, because the bottom of our leaf is going to get tucked behind that flower. So we don't need to pop that part. Okay, and then this guy is going to get tucked right in here on this side of our purple posy flower. Just like that. And then our Blushing Bride little flower, we're going to peel the backing off of that and stick that right down here beside the purple posy one. Okay, we're getting tea. Look how nice that is. It just fills with flowers. All right. And I completely forgot something. I just realized we have a Subtles DSP piece. This is supposed to get tucked behind here. Mine is in two pieces because this is the last of the scraps that I had. And so, but nobody's going to see that I don't have that behind here. But, so sorry guys, your DSP strip goes behind there. If you could lift up your flowers a little bit and tuck your piece behind there if you want to. You can try that, or just say, oh, we forgot it, so we're just not going to do it. So sorry about that. I wonder if we can move this up then. Okay, it happens. You just got to go with it, right? So I think I'm just going to tuck mine in there, because I can just glue that right down. So sorry about that, you guys. Okay, yes, I make mistakes too. I have a lot of experience making cards, but yeah, I do mess up from time to time. Okay, so I'm just gluing that Neutrals, or Subtles DSP down. Okay. And then we're going to bring our sentiment piece in and pop that on dimensionals as well. And I use 2 for this one. And we're going to go ahead and attach that. I like to just have it kind of offset and allowing some of that DSP to show through. But you do want to leave room over here for your other flower that's going to be up here, so which is our blue flower. And pop that up on dimensional. Okay, and then we're using all 3 of these leaves for that flower. So you have the 2 and then the 1, and the one that we have left is going to get tucked behind here. Okay, and this is a great tip for those of you who don't know. Once you've used up all of your dimensionals and you have this kind of long, just one piece, I cut these apart and I use them. I use the whole sheet. Nothing goes to waste with these dimensionals. And you can do the same thing with your big pieces too. The big dimensionals. That's what I meant to say. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and tuck this leaf behind on the right hand side of our flower. And I'm going to cut this stem part off. Okay, and then we have our set of leaves left. I'm going to cut these apart. And with these, before we put dimensionals on, I'm going to offset them. So basically just lining one over the top of the other a little bit, and we're going to glue that down. Okay. No right or wrong way to do it. It's whatever looks good to you. I want to make sure that that's bonded before I lift it up because I don't want it to shift and move on me. And then we'll cut the end of that off. And come in with another dimensional piece. And I'm placing it up toward the top of the tips of the leaves. Okay, bring our card in, and we're just going to chuck this in over here on the side. And there we have the front of our beautiful floral spring card. Okay, so that was, and then we've got our inside already done with our purple posy flower. Okay, now I'm going to demo for you guys really quick on the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine with this embossing folder. And then we'll come back and I will give a little bit more information about the products we used on this card. Okay. So I have a piece of Whisper White scrap, and then here is our embossing folder, and this is the Subtle Dynamic Textured Impression Embossing folder. Okay, and that's going to matter here in a minute. And this is in our annual catalog. Okay, and then for those of you who have not seen the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, it just really makes me think of the Cuddlebug in the way that the design is. And I know you guys aren't probably going to see a whole lot of this, so bear with me here. But it does have a hand crank on the side, just like we used for the Big Shot. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to pull this back out. I want to kind of go over a few things with the plates for this machine. One thing I really, really love that I think they did a good job on was that they actually numbered their plate. But they also give you a visual of the sandwich, of how you need to build your sandwich depending on what you're doing. So up here, this top one, this is the sandwich that you would build for using with thin dies, and then this is what you would use for just regular embossing folders, and then 3D embossing folders. 3D embossing folders and these textured impressions embossing folder is a completely different setup. So this is the main plate that comes as the basic plate. It does not tell you how to use these textured impressions embossing folders. And so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And then, so we have plate number 1, and then we also have a plate number 2. And this one is, you do not use this with embossing folders. This one is for using with thin dies. And so it will tell you, if you look at plate number 1, so using with thin dies, your bottom plate will be number 1, which is this plate, and then your next plate will be number 2, which is this one, and then you need to put down a cutting plate, and then your paper with your die, and then another cutting plate over the top. So everything is easily understood with what to do and what number plate you need. Okay, so number 3 plates are the cutting plates, so as you can see, well used. And then we have a 4th plate, and what that 4th plate is for is using with your 3D embossing folders. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to use it with the subtle textured impression dynamic folders, because these are quite a bit thicker. And you cannot, ask me how I know, you cannot do the setup for the 3D embossing folders with these. It will not work. There's a lot of resistance and a lot of fighting with the machine, and you basically will be forcing it, and you will break your machine. So, this is how we do it with these. And I'm going to go ahead and stand up here. So I'm going to bring the machine back in so you guys can see what I'm doing. So we don't need plate number 4. And so the sandwich is you take plate number 1 and that goes first. And then you're going to take your embossing folder. So I have my piece of paper here that I'm going to go ahead and put in. Okay, and there's been a lot of debate about running embossing folders through your machine. Do you go hinge side in or open in? I have heard either way, but it even says here on plate number 1, it will tell you insert embossing folders hinge first. So you really want to insert that hinge side in first. So plate number 1, and then your Textured Impressions dynamic embossing folder, and you need 1 cutting plate, not 2. And so then 1 cutting plate goes over the top of that, and then you're ready to roll. And as you can see, I am cranking with one hand and hardly holding on to the other end, and it went through pretty smoothly. And that cracking, popping you heard, just like with the Big Shot, is normal. And so now I'm going to bring this out to take the cutting plate off, and then we have this. And now we have our beautiful Settles embossed piece. So that is it, and that was super easy. I still use my Big Shot from time to time, but I love the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine because it is a little bit smoother as far as when you're trying to emboss or even die cut. So I wanted to share that with you because I could not find basically the sandwich on how you do that with these type of embossing folders, and so I just experimented, and that is what I found out. So now you know, you're in the know. Okay, so I think so now we're back to our cards. I showed you the pierced blooms and the rectangle stitch, so we are done with those. And I'm going to bring our cards back in here. Remember, I goofed on the DSP. I'm so sorry about that. But this is our sample, and this blue is our Balmy Blue, Stampin' Up! Balmy Blue, and then Soft Sea Foam. Whisper White, I still have some Whisper White inventory. I'm trying to use that before I use my basic white. And this was just a fun card to make. Let me know if you have any questions, and just kind of a reminder, the pierced bloom dies, they were from the mini catalog, and coming up at the end of March, demonstrators will get access to the retiring list as our current annual catalog. There's going to be some things retiring, and one of those that we know is going to be our in colors. The Purple Posy and Rococo Rose, Pretty Peacock, and those colors will be leaving us. So, if you want those colors, now it's time to get them. There's a few of them that's already on back order. And once that retiring list comes out, it's like people at the last minute just grab what they can of the retiring in colors. So if there's any you have to have, get them now. Okay, so I will have the information after the videos for you guys, so you guys can recreate these yourself. And I hope you have fun crafting with me today, and I really hope that you like this card. I was really pleased with how it came together, and it just speaks spring. I'm so ready for spring. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for crafting with me, and I will see you for the next project. Bye-bye.